So where are we sitting at with rare breed triggers? If you're not familiar with the story, basically the ATF served rare breed triggers with a cease and desist, determining their trigger as a machine gun.
On July 27th, Craig Sayer, the special agent in charge of the Tampa field office of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, accompanied by a government attorney, personally served rare breed triggers owner and attorney with a cease and desist letter informing us that our trigger, the FRT-15, had been determined to be a machine gun by the ATF.
So a lot has happened. When was the last video I did? Like 2 weeks ago, week ago, something like that. So let's go over and update what's going on. So a few things happened. Number one, Crump through his FOIAs, and you should definitely sub to his channel if you haven't, because a lot of great information comes from there. Anyway, with his FOIA requests, he learned through transactions with the different ATF agents, they determined the rare breed trigger to be a machine gun before they had ever even had one in their hands. Before they ever held one, before they ever had possession of one, they were like, yes, this is a machine gun. And then it was just trying to get their hands on one because they were always out of stock. They wound up having to get one off a gun broker. So that is so messed up. Like, without even knowing the mechanics of it or how it functions, they already had determined it to be a machine gun. That's crazy. That really is. Because there's a clear definition for what a machine gun is. Even though it doesn't fit that definition, well, I should even back up more. Even though they don't even know whether or not it will fit that definition or not, they're like, that is a machine gun. So just let that sink in for a minute. All right, next. A dude drops a video, the owner of Rare Breed. What does he have to say? Number one, it is not a machine gun.
The fact of the matter is that the FRT does not, cannot, and will not fire more than one round by a single function of the trigger, period. That's important to note because that is probably the most pertinent portion of the definition of a machine gun as defined by the Gun Control Act and the National Firearms Act.
And he is absolutely correct. It's not. It does not fit the definition of a machine gun. And we have seen that a lot lately. Pistol braces. They do not make an SBR. You cannot put an attachment on a firearm and make it an SBR. Of course, the ATF thinks of things differently because they have deference, and because they have deference, they just reinterpret laws to get whatever the hell done that they want to get done. They're sidestepping Congress. That's a big deal. He'll talk about it more, and I'll just roll in his clip because I think he just knocks that bitch right out of the park with how he describes it and what exactly is going on and why things like this, these edgy products, are so important. Because right now, they're saying, even though we're staying in the little box of legality, you know, we're right inside there. We're not outside the box, but even though we are in full compliance of the law, that makes us non-compliant. So even though we're compliant with the law, well, because you're compliant, well, now you're non-compliant. Like, that's absurd. That's something else.
But with the current political climate in our country, being right and following the letter of the law sadly doesn't seem to matter to half the country these days. As you've seen over the past few years, we've started down a slippery slope where unelected officials working in executive agencies have been allowed to create and enforce legislation that doesn't exist. From the CDC and their recommendations/mandates, to the ATF in our particular case, unelected officials in these executive agencies are consistently sidestepping Congress and implementing legislation without any legal authority to do so by reinterpreting the law to fit their need in any particular situation they desire. We've recently seen that take place not only with the bump stock case, but with regards to arm braces. And of course, as they're also currently attempting to redefine frame and receiver. As a constitutional republic, we have elected officials in Congress that have the duty to legislate and create laws. Having a law enforcement agency such as the ATF creating legislation by simply reinterpreting a law and acting through executive fiat sets a terrifying precedent. And whether you're a 2A supporter or not, this should be more than slightly alarming to you. This precedent is not how our country is supposed to work. It grants too much power to the unelected officials running these executive agencies like the ATF, and worse, it completely removes Congress from the legislative process.
All right. Next thing dude says in his video, he will not stop.
Responded to their cease and desist to inform them that we did not agree with their claim, we would not be complying with their demands, and followed up by filing a lawsuit in the United States Federal Court for the Middle District of Florida.
Now, you have to let that sink in for a minute. He is telling the ATF, and this is a real dude, with a real family, with a real life. He is going out, and he is grabbing the flag, and he is running with it, and fighting for our rights. He's wagering everything. His livelihood. I mean, he could have just closed the doors and been like, oops, it's a machine gun, let me shut the doors. How can I fix this, ATF? Because that's what most companies do. He's like, no, I'm fighting for this because this is what's right. And that is special. Like, literally, he's leveraging everything. Because the next step for the ATF, where he's not complying with the cease and desist, is go and arrest him. Throw him in federal prison and let him ride out there until this whole thing is done. Even if he wins, he's looking at like 2 years of his life gone. I don't know what age his kids are, but 2 years missing from your kids, that's huge. Like, you got to give this guy mad respect. Like, that is huge. That is a major decision to make. And he's doing it. And that's crazy. Like, don't let that... This is not a trigger fighting the ATF. This is a real guy with a real life and a real family fighting the ATF. It's amazing he hasn't been arrested yet. Like, that is amazing because that's typically not how they do things like we've seen with Auto Key Card. They usually arrest you, seize all your assets, lock you in a hole without bail. Because the ATF has a 90, it's more than 90, but I'm going to go with 90 because that's a safe number, a 90% success rate in court cases. He is wagering everything on less than a 10% chance of winning. That's incredible. This dude gets mad respect for me. That is incredible. Next thing, we will not stop. How did he determine that it is not a machine gun? He consulted 4 subject matter experts on this. I'll just play his little clip because he says it better than I can.
All 4 of these experts separately concluded that the FRT-15 is not a machine gun. Now, numerous people have asked why we did not seek an opinion letter from the ATF before going to the market. And the simple answer is, as we had already done our own due diligence by consulting with these 4 experts, all who determined the FRT-15 to be a perfectly legal semi-automatic trigger, it was unnecessary to seek the approval of the ATF, as semi-automatic triggers are not a regulated item. As semi-automatic triggers are not a regulated item. And before anyone makes the assertion that we simply shopped around and cherry-picked for experts that would agree with our own opinion, I'd like to remind everyone that these are the same experts that had testified on behalf of the DOJ and ATF in countless cases and criminal prosecutions as to what does and does not constitute a machine gun under federal law. So simply put, these aren't our experts. These gentlemen are the experts.
So, what else does he do in his video? Now, this is the part that I disagree with, because he does the downplay. He says that people that are worried about this trigger are henny pennies, chicken littles, blah, 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 blah.
Now, I would like to specifically address everyone that is currently concerned about owning or possessing an FRT-15. There have been a handful of gun tubers and other henny pennies that have been screaming that the sky is falling, and everyone that currently possesses an FRT-15 has become a felon overnight. While some of that is purely clickbait, many others are simply misinformed. No one has committed a felony or become a felon yet by simply owning an FRT-15.
Yes, it is true. I could put a meth lab right here, manufacture and sell methamphetamines. That does not make me a felon. That part is true. And he's using a play on words here. However, should a federal agent come in and notice this meth lab, I'm most certainly a felon. Now, I shouldn't say most certainly a felon because I can still fight it in court, and if I win, then I'm not. But that is a problem. And I wish you wouldn't have done this. Like, I'm all for people fighting the ATF, but I want them to have a choice in the matter. I don't want them to involuntarily fight the ATF. If you fight the ATF, I want that to be a conscious decision Because you're a real person with a real life, with a real family. You're not some statistic. So if you fight the ATF, I want it to be a conscious decision, something you have decided to do, and you understand the risk. I don't want you to involuntarily fight the ATF by being under the impression that owning this trigger is nothing. There's nothing to worry about. There's no risk involved. There is a very big risk involved. As of right now, yes, owning that trigger does not make you a felon. And that's where the play on words comes. However, you get caught with that trigger, even if you win your case, even if he wins his case and your case becomes irrelevant, you are still going to play the game. You are going to get arrested. You are probably going to spend no less than 2 years locked up while you fight this. You're going to have attorney's costs. Your life's going to be flipped upside down. You're going to lose your job. You could lose your wife. Hell, you could wind up losing your wife and having to pay child support for your kids that you don't see anymore. The point is, you are going through the motions should you get caught with one of those triggers, and you need to understand this. Again, I'm all for fighting the ATF. I'm not telling you not to. I just want you to be aware of the risk. This way you can see everything out in front of you and make an educated decision. I do not want you to make a decision based on the belief that there is nothing they can do about this. You will most certainly get arrested. You will most certainly go to jail. You will most certainly have to buy a lawyer. Will you get prosecuted or not? I don't think so. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving legal advice. If you take legal advice from me, you're stealing. Will you get prosecuted or not? I don't believe so. I believe that the bump stock case, they're going to win that, which will make his case irrelevant, which will make your case irrelevant. However, you are going to spend some time in jail. Probably a significant amount of time in jail. You are going to have to buy a lawyer. It's probably going to cost you between $50,000 and $100,000 to buy that lawyer, so you're probably going to have to leverage things like your car, your house, and your business if you own one. There's a good chance your wife's going to cheat on you while you're in jail, and there's a good chance you're going to go through a divorce. If you're okay with the risk, now I'm not saying none of that shit's guaranteed. It's not. You don't know. You don't know how it's going to play out. But that is the most likely outcome. So understand that risk before you decide to fight the ATF or openly rebel by posting internet pictures of your new rare breed trigger. Now that we got that out of the way. So now that you have made a conscious decision to fight the ATF, you own this trigger. Honestly, myself, I just wouldn't take it to a public range and I just wouldn't post pictures on the internet with me having it. Will the ATF show up at your door? They're simply going to go to the post office and request every address that that company has shipped to, and they're going to start showing up at people's houses at some point. Depending, they may back down. I doubt it, because I've never seen them back down on anything. So expect a visit from the ATF if you've purchased one. What do you do when they show up? Don't say a thing. Lawyer. That's it. Am I under arrest? No. Are you detaining me? No. Then we're done here. If they keep pushing the issue, well, if you guys want to talk or get any more information out of me or have any more questions, I'll get a lawyer and you can talk to him. I don't feel comfortable answering questions. The less you say, the better. Everything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Remember, if they show up and they don't automatically throw the cuffs on you, they don't have enough to arrest you. They're trying to talk to you to get you to say something to give them enough to arrest you. So just keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything. They'll go away. As long as you don't lie to them and deny that you purchased one, because if you lie to them, now you're lying to a federal agent. Now they have enough to get a warrant. They're going to come and tear your house apart. Say nothing. I want a lawyer. That's it. Am I being arrested? Nope. Am I being detained? Nope. Okay, then we're done here. Shut the door. All right. Oh, where are we here? Oh, next thing. He is representing himself. That's another one of those things I disagree with. No matter how you slice the pie, it's still a pie of stupid decisions. I would never rep myself. Even if I was a lawyer, I just would not do that. That is a very poor choice to make. Remember, the ATF has over a 90% success rate in court. You don't want to do anything wrong. You want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row and everything happens perfectly. Representing yourself is not a good decision, but that's his decision to make. Whether I agree with it or not, that's what he's doing. So how can you help? I will just let him explain that because I don't want to mess anything up because he has a very particular way of how you can help him.
So how can you help us? 1, I'd like to ask that you join our mailing list at rarebreedtriggers.com. 2, like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram to stay informed. But just in case they censor us and remove our ability to share updates, please be sure to join our mailing list at rarebreedtriggers.com. 3, contact your congressmen and women along with your state senators and have them remind the ATF that they are not a legislative body. 4, and last, we've received an outpouring of encouragement and have had several people ask how they can assist in what's sure to be a very long and costly legal battle with the ATF. If you would like to contribute to the Legal Defense Fund to assist in our fight, you can send a check to the law offices of Kevin C. Maxwell and mail it to the address below. Please be sure to note it is intended for the RBT Defense Fund.
So that is your up-to-date on what the hell is going on with the Rare Breed Trigger. I appreciate you guys watching. Like to help support the channel, got my Patreon right there. I also have affiliate links to, or I also have a link to my Amazon store in the description. Even if you don't buy anything particular out of that store, just clicking on that link and then doing the Amazon shopping you were already going to do anyway. I had a little kickback for it because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.